Everything we believe is false. It's all a lie to disconnect us from who we are, where we are, what this place is, the true power that we have, and to make us give up our God-given free will to the government. Govern is to control, meant is the mind. And it sounds like a lot, and it's pretty scary, but it's really not scary once you break through. It's literally like unplugging from the matrix.
What if the truth came in a gel cap and we could just pop it in our mouths and forget about it? Well, it doesn't, and we can't. But we can laugh in the face of reality while plotting our survival. Welcome to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast. I am your host, Hersh, and if my guests can handle the truth, so can you. Open wide, folks. Here it comes. Today on Truth Tastes Funny, I am speaking with David Weiss, also known as Flat Earth Dave. Flat Earth Dave discovered the truth about the world and has since felt compelled to share it. And he's going to share the truth with me. And as you all know, my motto is selling the truth. And I do that in life and in business. That is my life marketing model. And so I am open. I come to this call with an open mind and an open heart and my usual sense of humor. So, Dave, welcome to Truth Tastes Funny.
That's awesome. Open mind. Whoops. Open mind, open heart. That's awesome. When I heard about this topic, I had a closed mind. I said, I'm just going to disprove this stupid thing. I'm going to prove we live on a globe and be done with this nonsense, because everybody was sending me, have you looked into flat Earth? Have you looked into flat Earth? And every flat earther has the same story, that we thought it was stupid. We mocked the people that suggested it. And then when we looked, we couldn't believe what we found. And it changes your life. And in the end, we'll get to it at the end. You're going to say, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday, right? But this makes all the difference in the world. It is the most important topic. Oh, wait, Dave, how can you say that? There's starvation, there's child trafficking, there's craziness going on politically. Flat Earth is the foundation of our world. The globe is the lie that lets us have all of this other nonsense, lets them get away with it. So that's a big statement. Last thing I'm going to say, I'll throw it back to you.
Okay.
Is I offer 3 Bitcoins, which are worth 100 grand each right now, or very close to it, for 1 globe proof. I have a challenge for everybody. Listen to the podcast. Don't tune out yet. And then if you think the Earth is a globe, prove it. And now you win 3 Bitcoins.
I love that. I love that, Dave. I was going to ask you, so who was it that first presented the idea? No one has ever, other than you're the first person, has called me up and said, hey, the earth is flat and I would like to prove it to you. Or, hey, why don't you question the earth being round? Nobody's even asked. Nobody's suggested to me that I change my way of thought. So who or how did that question even come up?
So I was doing a conspiracy podcast just for fun on the side, looking into lots of the major deceptions. So without getting into any of them, because we don't want to poison the well, people in the 3rd year of this podcast out of New York City were sending me, hey, Dave, have you looked into flat Earth? And I just delete. You're annoying, ban for life, ban for life, ban for life. And you're no longer allowed to even listen to our podcast, let alone comment on our social media. And then a good friend, Sophia Smallstorm, another researcher who did some documentaries on some big topics, she's like, Dave, you got to look into this. And I said, okay, I'm going to look and I'm just going to disprove it. And it's only when you look, right? You can lead a man to knowledge, but you can't make him think, right? But
Right.
It's only, we've been programmed before we had the ability to think, reason, or anything, or before we knew that there was lies in this world, we were told we live on a globe. We were shown globes. Well, Sesame Street, Disney, NASA, all tied together. All of this is the lie to control humanity. So here's the thing. Why would they lie? How do so many people are in on it? We'll get to all of that, but I'm going to show you the evidence first, right? It's like walking into a room, you see a whole bunch of murdered people. You don't go, I don't believe it. I don't, what's the motive, right? No, look at the evidence first, then figure out the motive.
Right. I like that. I like that you have to first look at evidence because that's the way we evaluate this stuff. I'm ready. I'll tell you this, and I think a lot of people are too. Clearly, if you look at, what happened in our recent election, people aren't satisfied with the information that they've been given, with the system that's at work. So somehow or another, we have been distrusting authority, and a healthy distrust or suspicion of authority is good because, like you say, if someone has a good answer for something, they can give it to you. You know, if they have a good answer, they can give it to you. So here, give us your. Let's begin with the evidence at hand.
Yeah, well, just one thing I heard years ago, William Casey, CIA director, said, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." Right? So I said, "Well, that's a bit everything." I didn't believe it. It is everything, literally
Yeah.
everything. It's everything. I mean, there
So
might be a couple things.
everything we believe is
Is
false.
everything we believe is false. It's all a lie to disconnect us from who we are, where we are, what this place is, the true power that we have, and to make us give up our God-given free will to the government. Govern is to control, meant is the mind. And it sounds like a lot, and it's pretty scary, but it's really not scary once you break through. It's literally like unplugging from the matrix. When you discover that you're no longer on a random speck flying through an infinite universe, right? They tell us that the universe is expanding at 1 billion miles a minute. What's
Yeah.
what's space expanding into?
Yeah.
What's this? What I mean, they say these crazy things. Your mind short circuits because you're not able to deal with these large numbers and large thoughts because they never taught you to think that way. They taught you to memorize and regurgitate. You know how you become a
Yes.
teacher or a professor? You memorize and regurgitate the best. If I wrote a book this big, a book of BS, and I gave it to you and you studied it, and then I tested you on it and you got 100, I'm going to give you a certificate. You are now certified in
Yeah.
BS. And when you're talking BS with people, if anyone challenges you, you go, here's my certification, right? Where's yours? You have to listen
Right.
to me. And that's how
Right.
this world works. It is just, people repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, right? So there's a couple different types of people out there. There's these paid agents to hide the truth, not many of them. And then there's just people that are so indoctrinated that they will defend the globe, like with Stockholm syndrome, but they don't even know the reason that they're defending it. They just don't know it. You
Right.
think you live on the globe. No, I'm not going to hold it against you. I might judge you a little bit, but we all did. We all did at one point. But if I ask you some questions, you're going to get them all wrong because I got them all wrong. What's the circumference of the Earth at the equator? How fast is it spinning at the equator? How fast is it orbiting the sun? What's the radius of the Earth? What's the distance of the sun? How did they figure it out? Do you know any of these things?
No.
Okay, and nobody, and so, but people will still defend it, right? You know what the second law of thermodynamics is? You can't have gas next to a
Oh, I
vacuum.
can. Oh,
Oh,
yes, I can.
you can
I
have
can. I
gas,
can
right?
have gas.
Yeah,
No,
but
go
it's in the
ahead.
container. It's in a container,
It is in a container at
and it's
first. Yeah.
trying to equalize, right? It's trying to
Yes.
equalize. So that's a funny but it's a good example. So we live on a lumpy rock, surrounded by water that's curved, but no one's ever measured that curve. With high pressure air adjacent to a void of no pressure space, a vacuum. That is impossible. You can't have high pressure next to low pressure. And they go, well, there's a pressure gradient. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner until there's nothing. Baloney. It
Right.
doesn't work that way. If I had a box of air in a room that had no air, if I put a hole in that box anywhere, it's immediately going to fill the room. Immediately. It's going to equalize. Open up a soda can, psst, equalizes. Why doesn't the Earth equalize into space?
Right.
Only answer you have is gravity, right? So let me just give you this is what they tell us. They taught us that the Earth is orbiting the planets orbit the sun, but they
Yes.
didn't teach us that the sun is traveling at a 500,000 miles per hour. So all of the planets are spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour average, weird number, right? Chasing the Earth at a 500,000 miles per hour, while that entire system moves sideways at 2.2 million miles per hour. This is what they tell you is going on,
Yeah.
but we don't feel any of it. We don't feel any of it. Well, the default answer programmed is, well, on an airplane, I could drink a glass of water and walk to the bathroom. I was like, oh, you want to compare the airplane to the slowest motion, which is the spin of the Earth? Take off, you have to double the speed of the airplane, so it's going 1,000 miles an hour. You have to take off the outer shell because there's no outer shell over the Earth. And then you have to nosedive at a mile per minute just to follow the curve at that speed. Tell me how your water's doing. You probably won't have to go to the bathroom anymore because you already
Right.
went.
Right.
Right.
Now,
So,
if we go by what, what NASA, let's say, tells us
yeah.
is proof that the Earth is round, right?
Yeah.
Space photos, the position of the sun, lunar eclipses, shadows, imagery, all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so what does and clearly, I've come to this not as a scientist. I've come to this as a layman. So clearly there are laymen that are better educated in science than I am. But
Well, science is a word, but the scientific method needs to be followed in order for it to be called science. Zero
right.
in cosmology uses the scientific method. There's nothing in the heliocentric, which is the globe model, that they use pure pseudoscience. So if I showed you, so let me ask a question. You're trying to think of an analogy here. If your best friend lied to you,
Yeah.
total lie, would you trust him anymore? Maybe it was one lie. Then he lied to you again. How many times does he have to lie to you before you don't trust him anymore?
Twice would be the
Okay, twice.
max.
That'll do it. So if I show you NASA faking being in space 100 times, is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that. But first, you talked about images. This is called the blue marble. It was the first image that was on the first iPhone. Every iPhone came with the wallpaper with the blue marble on it. And if you look at it, there's clouds are stepped and repeated. And we found the guy that made it. His name is Robert Simon, and he said he made it from data he was given, and he made it in Photoshop. He said, and his famous quote is, "It's made in Photoshop because it has to be." Right? It's made in Photoshop because it has to be. That's weird.
Yeah.
So
By the way, I encourage people who are listening, if you have the opportunity to watch the podcast on YouTube and see the video version, you'll get a lot of the visual aids that Dave's putting up.
I'll try to describe things for the listening audience, but
Yeah.
this is a very visual conversation. I'm showing
Yes, it
9
is.
images of Earth here from NASA. And if you really take the time and look at them, only one could be real because they're all different. They're all completely different size continents, different colors. You can make excuses for the colors, but either 8 of them are fake or all 9 of them are fake. And if you look at there's a 2012 image and a 2013 image, and look at the size of the United States, it's double the size in one of the pictures. I know we're getting fatter, but that was actually
Yeah.
earlier. You know, there's pictures from the ISS. They show the cool curve of the Earth, but when you look at the land topography and you put it on a map, you see that it's just a tiny little section. It's a fisheye lens from an airplane or a balloon, or not even that high. That
Mhm.
little tiny circle is all of that. That right? That's from NASA. If you Google flat Earth, you're going to see a disk floating in space. Nobody believes that. Only globe believers believe that, right?
Mhm.
And comparing pictures from NASA, they show like what's the curve really like? How is that? This Earth is 5 times bigger than this Earth, right? It's the same thing right here and right there,
Let me
right?
let me throw this statement out at you. This is
Sure.
just, under Wikipedia's, empirical evidence for spherical shape of the Earth. And they say one piece of evidence is visibility of distant objects on Earth's surface. On a completely flat Earth without obstructions, mountains, hills, valleys, or volcanoes, the ground itself would never obscure distant objects. A spherical surface has a horizon, which is closer when viewed from a lower altitude. In theory, a person standing on the surface with eyes 1.8 meters or 5 feet and 11 inches above the ground can see the ground up to about 4.79 kilometers or nearly 3 miles away. But a person at the top of the Eiffel Tower, 896 feet, can see the ground up to about 58.98 kilometers away.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. And the reason, so on a globe Earth with the size of the globe, there's a limit to how far you can see before things will go behind a physical curve. I'm holding a globe in front of my face right now, and you can't see my mouth because it's
Right,
behind a physical curvature, right?
right.
Zooming in isn't going to help because it's still a physical curvature.
Yes.
The problem is our horizon is not physical. Here's one of thousands of pictures that were taken. So we have a camera, which is just like a foot off the ground, I think, here. And we're looking at these two oil platforms. This one is 9.4 miles and 6.2. Now, that doesn't sound like far, but according to the globe math, the horizon should be 1.2 miles away. Not only can we see this rig completely, we can see the surface of the water for miles and miles and miles beyond it. It should be 59 feet below the curve just at 9.4 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how much curvature there should be. Let me show you something even worse. So this is in Luge, France. There's a spot where you look out over the ocean and Mount Canigou's out here, but you can't see it because it's 175 miles away. And the top of the mountain should be over a half a mile below the curve. Can't see it. Earth is a globe, right? But in the flat Earth model, the sun migrates to the Tropic of Cancer in the north and to the Tropic of Capricorn in the south. 6 months in, 6 months out. Twice a year, it lines up with the viewer and Mount Canigou. And as it goes away, it goes beyond the mountain. Now, the reason you can't see the mountain is because the light that's bouncing off the mountain isn't strong enough to push through 175 miles of the soupy atmosphere. However, the sun is much brighter. It's much more powerful. It can, and as it does, it backlights the mountain. And when it backlights the mountain, you can see the whole mountain. The entire mountain is here, right? The top of this mountain should be over a half a mile below the curve. Now, the globe argument is, well, the mountain is behind the curve and the sun is already set, but the sun is refracting up and the dark mountain is refracting up and blocking the sun. That's crazy. You can't figure it out because it's stupid. You're not stupid. It's stupid. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Now,
So the reason that we don't see the sun, we see the mountain here is because the mountain's right there and the sun is just beyond it. The sun looks like it's going down because it's going away, just like when you stand under a street light, the ones down the road look like they're going down, but
right.
they're all at the same height.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
Now, let's accept that for a moment and say, okay, well, what is the conspiracy then, right? In other words, I'm just a kid who grows up in Wisconsin. I go to school, I go to college, I study this my whole life. I don't have anything invested in a cover up or the government or anybody else. I just study what I study. Is there a reason why I wouldn't figure out these things that you're saying? Why
Yes,
wouldn't
because
I, just as a regular kid, be curious enough to say, I don't get it. It's really the mountain's really there. Like, why wouldn't I
well,
get that?
well, most people don't bother using their God-given common sense like that, but some do. And when they do, they just get shut down. Nobody, pays attention to them. There are a lot of people that question it and that they get stupid answers like, "Oh, it's refracting up. There's refraction." And then we also, when you look at the lights in the sky, you're like, well, that's a galaxy and it's 400 light years away. You're like, wow, that's really far. It must be really big. And then you just believe it
Right.
because that's what you were told and that's what it says in the book. And that's what it says. So just to show you an example of how preconceived notions shape your reality, we're looking at a picture here. I put this together. You got a guy on a pier, water, boat, sun, clouds, tree. Okay. Your life experience is telling you that this pier is higher than the water, right? And the boat is sitting on the water and the clouds are above the boat, right? You can kind of put it
Hmm.
all together. So my question to you is, where's the 40-story building in this picture? The skyscraper, 50-story skyscraper. You see it?
What?
Where's the
No,
50-story skyscraper in this building, in this picture?
I don't see a
Are we
skyscraper.
looking across the surface of the earth or are we looking up at the sky in this picture?
Well, we're looking across
That
the earth.
that's because your life experience is telling you what you're seeing here. If I take off the deck and get rid of the sky, We're looking
Oh, I
straight.
see. Right.
We're looking straight up. So it's how you perceive the world, right? So here's the sun up here. Let's say it's noon. Watch this. And it goes to 1 o'clock. Now, let me ask you a question. It's an easy question. Is the sun below the horizon or is it just beyond the building out of your view?
It's just beyond the building. Yeah.
Right. So let me show you. This is a perspective grid. Okay. And got this guy here. Here's his eye line. And we'll throw a mountain in here. We'll say this mountain is 3,000 feet above his head. There's the sun, and the sun's going to just go into the distance. Watch. Is it below the horizon or beyond the mountain?
Beyond the mountain.
Right. So now if he went backwards, let's say 25 miles, the top of the mountain looks like it's at his eye level.
Mm-hmm.
And if the sun goes farther away, it goes beyond the mountain again. It looks like it's going below the curve if that's what you think. If you think it's a globe, you think it went below the Earth curve, but it just went beyond the mountain. If we had the sky in here and the clouds, the atmosphere, and the atmosphere, even on a clear day, becomes opaque over distance, look at these clouds. They're all wedging into this line right here. It looks like they're touching the mountain. But this line here is the atmospheric deck of opacity, I call it, which is 10,000 feet above the mountain. So this horizon is 13,000 feet minimum above his eyes, and the sun will just go beyond it. And you think it went below the curve of the Earth because of your programming.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So but I'm still struggling with, the idea of the experts and what
Who are the
has to.
experts?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. In other words, everybody who maintains that the Earth is a sphere is, to your mind, either misinformed or misguided, right? Or willfully participating in a conspiracy for us
Or
to,
or knowingly,
or
unknowingly.
unknowingly. So
Right.
somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, let's say.
He knowingly participating we've got him to do damage control so many times. First he said when we first started, oh, well, you can see the curve of the Earth from an airplane. And we sent a balloon up to 100,000 feet. And we said, there's no curve. And he goes, well, you have to go, first then we showed that you couldn't see the curve. And then he goes, oh, you got to go off 70,000 feet. And they showed the Mythbusters did the MiG fighter thing. And they showed the curve, but one of the cameras didn't have a fisheye lens and it showed a flat horizon level with the wings. And he goes, well, you got to go higher than that. So we sent a balloon up to 127,000 feet. And we showed that there's no curve. And he goes, well, at 127,000 feet, you can't see the curvature of the Earth. That stuff is flat, he goes. What was that? I mean, he said that stuff is flat. At 127,000 feet, right? You can't even fathom what 127,000 feet is. This sun is supposedly 93 million miles away. Why is it lighting up this section and not the entire area? It's darker over here. It's lighter over here. It's kind of like it's a local light. And the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour to the east. That balloon is disconnected from the Earth. They want to scream Coriolis every time, something, the curve, they think things are curving because of Coriolis. That balloon should have landed, it was up there for 3.5 hours, over 3,000 miles out in the west over the ocean. But it landed 80 miles to the east of where it took off. So somehow that balloon rose up, disconnected from the Earth, outran the 1,000-mile-an-hour spin of the Earth, and landed in front of the Earth, in front of where it took off.
Yeah, I just wonder why, let's say,
Why would they lie?
there are all these people. Yeah, why would he, not just him, but why would all the people who just are fascinated by this stuff and study it be the stupidest people?
Because they memorize and regurgitate the documents that they're shown, right? Let me just show you on this International Space Station. Where did he come from? That shows that they're using some sort of layering green screen. He just faded into the picture. This was on a NASA live stream. He just faded in. Watch. Just faded in.
Wow.
So, okay.
That's easy, just as easily.
And this guy figured out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that could just as easily be the work of whoever made this video. This
is straight from NASA. Don't believe anything I show you. You got to go verify all of this stuff, right? And then weird things happen like this. Okay, this is just weird
And
stuff that's happening.
well, let's get into because obviously, and I just had this conversation about something as simple as AI and conversations on LinkedIn. You have a conversation with people on LinkedIn now, they don't they don't believe that you're a person, they think you're a bot because
Of course,
bots sound like people. So the question is if yes, we live in a post-truth world where nobody trusts that anything is real.
right?
So, and because our ability with visual effects and simulation and everything else makes it possible to fake anything, so nothing can't be faked. Way
True,
back
and
when,
that's a problem. They have a they're getting better and better, and soon it's going to be hard. It's getting harder and harder for us to catch this. But here's a scene: Kamala Harris talking to the ISS, and they're always playing with their wires and stuff. Now watch this wire. Okay, this wire is supposed to prove oh, look, it's so cool in space. But watch the wire, it goes right through his wrist. Ready? Right through his wrist. Watch. I'll zoom in even closer. Okay, this is direct from a NASA live feed. Let me just speed up. Look right through his hand, through his wrist. Watch. See the wire? Right through. So
yeah,
this is augmented reality. They're playing these things aren't really there, right? And these things happen all of the time, and people don't want to don't want to admit it. So here, all the astronauts are having their little taco party, and right here on the table, why is this stuff sitting on the table? Let's just say, okay, they got some sticky tape on the table, right, and that's why it's sticking. But
well,
they were saying
or yeah,
they they were
or we could say that the picture itself is not real. In other
yes.
words, it's doctored to make
Well,
it look like it's
of
fake.
course you can say that, but this is a snapshot from a live feed from them. But they were playing with the lemon, and again, you have to see this in their footage. And they went to grab the lemon, and watch what happens to the lemon. It goes right through the person's hand. I'm going to zoom
Yeah,
in. Watch
if
carefully. Look, it's not
but if
real.
well, here's why I have a problem with this stuff. Having
Okay.
worked in the film industry for a long time and been involved in a lot of productions, getting that right requires very little effort. So why, with all the power and all the money behind it,
Why didn't they get it
would
right?
NASA or anybody make a mistake? It wouldn't.
Because
They wouldn't.
well,
They
hang
wouldn't
on.
because
That that
why be so cavalier about it and
I have
sloppy?
three answers for that. I have three
Yeah.
different answers. Okay. So one thing is called revelation of the method, where for their karmic health, they always have to tell us what they're doing. They always have to give us a chance to see the truth. The other answer is they're just that stupid. Okay. I don't know which one it is, but if you listen to look at like Don Pettit, we lost the technology and it's a painful process to build it back again. That's why we can't go to the moon, right? And they do these screw ups all the time. Watch this guy's left arm. There's a this is all in front of a green screen. You notice how they're always holding their arms. Watch right here. Watch right there. And there's the green screen. Okay. There's no excuse for this. There's no excuse other than, trying not to face reality. Check this out. This ball is real. It's filled with helium. Look here. Where did that come from? This is from a NASA live stream. They even put the little beaming thing and a beaming noise
Well,
from Star Trek, and they're
Dave,
playing
yeah, but for the
that.
benefit of moving the conversation forward, let's say let's not worry about the visual effects aspect of it. Let's
Okay.
talk about the purpose and the logic of this world. In other words, you know, where does, in your view, the conspiracy begin and end? So when you're looking at when you're talking to astronauts, you're talking to people who work for NASA, you're talking to people who are renowned, astrophysicists and all this stuff. In order for all these people to be willfully ignorant, foolish, stupid, or just part of just programmed. What's behind it? What is the benefit of it? What is the purpose of it? What purpose does the conspiracy serve, as I guess, in the
It
real nitty-gritty of it?
it serves a way to control humanity. It serves a way to, if you had a pet tiger and you had him fenced in a quarter of an acre, he wouldn't be happy, right? You put him in 20 acres, he'd probably be okay. Put him in 500 acres, he sees the fence, he'll just turn around and go do his daily thing. Put a human in a 500 million acre area, as soon as he sees the fence, he wants to go to the other side. So how do they hide that? How do they hide the fence? What they did is they literally took the flat earth, right? Large bodies of water at rest need containment. Let me just get rid of that. Get rid of that too. Large bodies of water at rest need containment. A lake holds its water because the shoreline of the lake is higher than the water, right? If you lowered the shoreline, the water would run off, right?
Right.
Somehow we have water sticking to the outside of a ball and a space vacuum. When you actually think these things through, you realize that they're scientifically impossible. So our world is a pond. Antarctica is the highest continent on Earth. Compared to the average elevation of all the other continents, Antarctica is over double number 2. So it is the shoreline of our pond. Antarctica isn't the continent at the bottom of a ball. It's the shoreline that goes all the way around. Captain Cook is the last person that tried to circumnavigate Antarctica. It took him 3.5 years. He went over 68,000 miles when it's only 11,000 miles around. How did he go 68,000 miles unless he went all the way around here, right? And the Antarctic sailboat race that's going on right now, these guys, you've seen the sailboat race, right? These boats are the highest tech boats. They go 30 miles an hour, right? NASA is in charge of all of the GPS. So when they're out there, they tell them how far they're going. They do distance over time. And the average speed of the winner is 4 miles per hour, according to the distance that they supposedly are going. 4 miles per hour. That's like saying I won the Indianapolis 500 and I went 25 miles an hour the whole time. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get to why would they hide this, right? And the reason is, what is out here? What is out here? Is there more land, right? And how do they hide it? This is how they hide it right here. So imagine this. This is the world. They cut it out, right? They cut that out and then they wrap it around a sphere. And they say, you're not allowed to explore independently this white area. It's off limits because of the penguins and because of the ice. Now, if you want to go to Antarctica, they'll take you to a little island out here, way out here. And it's called, ready for this? Deception Island. And they'll show you penguins and they'll show you ice. And then they'll kick you out and they'll charge you 40 grand, okay, to do that. And so it's not wildly visited as they want you to think. There is no independent exploration here, right? And this is off limits. The North Pole and the South Pole, the two places that would tell us where we live, are off limits physically and virtually.
Right.
Now let me show you something else that'll help you.
Okay.
And I'm going to answer the why the lie.
Thanks so much for tuning into Truth Tastes Funny. If you enjoyed the experience, please leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your friends.